Welcome everyone to the Chompcast, the official podcast of Sword Chomp and SwordChomp.com. Thank you for downloading or streaming the podcast, taking some time out of your busy life to listen to our show. And remember, if you're digging the show, please subscribe and leave us a kind rating wherever you download podcasts. It really helps us reach a bigger audience. But first, let's introduce the crew of co-hosts you'll be absorbing over the next hour or so. From Texas, we have the one and only Anthony Fisher is here. Hello, Fish.
Hey, you announced me first. What's going on? You're throwing me off here.
Keeping you on your toes. So you have your comfortable little box, Fish? I'm just going to fucking crush it every time.
My box?
Your metaphorical box that we podcasting. You know what I'm saying?
Oh. As long as you don't bring up my... As long as you don't bring up my...
He loves crushing Fish's metaphorical box.
As long as I don't bring up your dead-end job, is that what you said?
Yeah.
It's too early. I won't drag you back through that just yet.
Thank you.
But goddamn it, Fish, you threw me off. Good job. From Japan, we have your premier source for all things Japan, Mr. Shay Layton.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. Hello, Shay. How are you doing today?
Genki desu. O genki desu ka?
I will take that as you are doing great. And,
Hi.
Yes. Okay. And, of course, once again, from a random secret location in Michigan, we have our dearly beloved Joshua Fowler.
Yeah. I'm doing all right.
Okay. Well, I didn't ask you how you were doing, Josh.
I know you are.
I didn't ask you. God damn it.
I have to keep you on your toes.
You're trying to stay ahead of me now? You're answering the question I haven't asked yet? Is that what's going to happen today, Josh?
Yeah.
Fuck. That has me worried. Well, if you didn't know, my name is Morgan Barnes. I'm going to be your host today. Straight from the blue skies of Montana. And we have an interesting show today. Kind of a serious one as we discuss game criticism and the popular Donkey Fuck Game Critics YouTube video that has been circulating in our circles. But it's more of a serious show. Last week we were joking about, being janitors in our favorite Final Fantasy game, thanks to Josh. And a week before that it was X-rated pop rock stories. So, we're due for something thought-provoking, right?
I was doing an awful lot of thinking in the last couple weeks, but, yeah, mostly unwanted thoughts.
Now you're just trying to fuck with me, Josh. I'm not going to let you do this to me. God damn it. You just totally flipped around thought-provoking on me, didn't you? Is that what you just did to me? Oh, man, it's too late for this shit, Josh. My brain is not functioning. And our schedule was so whacked today. I ran like 2.5 miles, and we had a guest host that unfortunately had to bow out at the last minute. Hopefully we'll have him back here in a couple weeks. So it's been fucking kind of a whirlwind. But it should be a really epic show. Game criticism is always fun to talk about. Quick rundown of the topics. I want to talk a little Castlevania with you guys, including that next Netflix series everyone's talking about. I have a pretty cool Japanese Hot Shots golf story as well. But let's get right into it, guys. Game criticism. Okay, so I want to kind of go around here briefly and kind of get you guys' thoughts to kind of break the ice, get you guys' thoughts on the Donkey video. So the way I found this, I was just kind of going through my Twitter feed, and someone that I follow, Patrick Klepek, he's a writer that I've always loved. He works for Waypoint right now. He was responding to something some guy named Donkey had said about one of his videos, and it was just the response itself was really weird. So I clicked on it. I was like, who's this Donkey guy? What are they talking about? And that's when I came across this really popular Twitter profile, which then led me to the YouTube video, which then just continued to spiral down to God knows where. And Fish is laughing really hard right now in our webcam. It's throwing me off. You motherfucker. So I'm going to find out why in a second. But, so then it led me down the spiral of this crazy video that had like almost 3 million views now. That basically was like, fuck game critics. And it led to this really interesting topic about game criticism. So that's how we got here for the fun topic of the week with its degree of relevance. So first of all, I want to go around, see what you guys thought just in general of the actual YouTube video itself. I'll go to you, Fish, Mr. Giggles over here in my way.
No, God.
What,
No.
guys, what are you giggling about?
Oh, Josh just sent us a very erotic picture of his nipple.
I thought you were joking until I looked down at my phone, and that is a real thing.
Thank you, Josh.
All right, well, I'm sorry.
You're welcome.
So you watched the video, Fish. What'd you think?
He makes some good points. Like, I agreed with him on a lot of points that he's made. One point that he brings up that I think is kind of lost a lot, at least by me, is the fact that these games are graded on on so many different scales and so many weights that they use against it. Like they go by graphics, the sound, and very technical stuff, and they come to a conclusion with a number that represents essentially what the game's worth, and I don't agree on that as much. And he brings up the fact that a lot of game critics are talking shit about a game inside of a game review, and it throws people off because at the end of it all, they come up with like a pretty high score on it, like an 8 or a 9, and like he makes good points like that, and he brings up the fact that a game should essentially just be something that's fun to play. And it's hard to kind of grade on a scale of fun for a game, it differs from each person. So it comes to that conclusion, like it's more about just each individual person's likes, and essentially you want to, if you have to know or validate if a game's worth getting or playing, you kind of have to look for people who have similar likes that are in these journalistic mediums where they can go to.
Yeah, and like the example you're talking about, I think, is when he showed the example he gave was New Super Mario Brothers for the Wii, and the guy sounded pretty tepid about it, but then at the end it was like something for everyone, 9.1, and how that's sort of it seems sort of distant or detached from the actual review. What about you, Shay? How'd you feel about the actual video itself?
I felt like he made, like Fish said, he really did make some valid points. I think it's interesting that any of the big name games, whenever you read a magazine or you pop on one of the websites, it has such a high rating, but then you have a lot of these indie games and a lot of these other lower budget titles, and they're just not getting quite the accolades that a lot of these big name titles are. And you may like flip open to a random magazine, I'm not going to name any, and you see that, the new Call of Duty got another fucking 9.5. And then you may flip a few pages later, and then you see this game that had a lot of character, had a lot of personality in it, and then it has a 7.5 because maybe the mechanics weren't quite as up to par as the best of those games. And it just, I don't know, I find it disconcerting, and I find it just kind of a fallacy to even read reviews. The only reason why I look at scores now is just to be like, are you fucking kidding? Or, yeah, that's the amount that it deserves. Other than that, though, I mean, I don't even read the reviews anymore, because it gets to the point for me where I'm reading this and it's like, it's the same laborious shit that is said about every other game, which is kind of what the video described. So I pretty much agree with it. I mean, I felt the video was a little tangential and mishmashed, but it got its point across.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's fair enough. What about you, Josh?
I did not go into it with high hopes, just based off of, screen name and topic.
Donkey.
Well, it seemed like I was Yeah, just with that name and then with the topic, I was just expecting some, Gamergate leftovers, sort of a rant.
You can say it, Josh.
And it wasn't that, but yeah, I mean, he did make a lot of good points. He was a little rambly and at one point tried to make that into a point, but I don't feel like it was worth it to make the point that was made there.
Focus.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I felt like he had too many points. I feel like he kind of needed to edit it down and focus on a couple other things, because it didn't feel like he spent enough time on any of the topics to do anything other than really complain about them. Yeah, like I didn't come away from the video feeling like there was any solution given.
Mm-hmm.
Just here, look at this problem. Which, I mean, yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah, like here's well, that's a good point. Like, what you felt like it was too all over the place to really give you a concise, this is how I feel, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like a centralized vision for what the video.
Yeah,
was trying
centralized
to say.
vision. Like, here's the problem. Here's how I think we need to go about fixing it. I didn't feel like there was a central enough focus to really nail down something to fix, other than, I mean, I guess if I had to put a thesis on there, it was that YouTube reviews are the future. If I had to say anything, like that, it kind of seemed like maybe that was the idea, but it wasn't stressed at all.
Yeah. Sort of implied at one point.
Yeah.
And that kind of, I think, harkens back to his main point, which was, in my eyes, from watching the video, even though there's a couple things briefly for me as we can transition here. I thought that I didn't like how the video attacked a lot of the people in the industry, and I mean that kind of bothered me just because I feel like you can make the point without physically attacking, and sort of there's like a really like negative sort of energy or spirit to the video, which kind of bothered me, even if some of the points he was making were interesting about the idea of decentralization, where there's so many critics that work for a website now that, it's hard to follow them. Where his larger point, like you were saying, Josh, is that you follow Dunkey, you learn Dunkey, you know how Dunkey thinks. It's an easy personality to match with his opinion.
Yeah.
And there's also this, I just sent you guys this in the private chat, but there was a tweet that you can see on his page where right after that video came out where he basically said, "Wipe yourselves off, man, you dead." And it said, "Game critics." And just like the way he talks is just very strange, and like there's just a really negative attitude he has toward game critics, even though he is sort of a game critic, because I think YouTubers have taken this sort of we're different mantra, right? Like they're separate from the IGNs and the GameSpots because they're just people that started making independent stuff in their living room, and there's truth to that, I guess, but it's a very independent sort of spirited thing, this whole YouTube community that has grown. In some ways that's a lot more popular to the audiences nowadays, and it felt like very much like this is us and we do it the right way and you guys do it this fucking outdated wrong way. So I guess that was the tone that I got from it. So I guess I agree with you on that point, Josh.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. So.
But it reminded me of like when I was a kid. I don't know if you guys. So I used to get really into Electronic Gaming Monthly. So on the topic of reviews in general, and that's what this got me thinking about. Because when I was a kid, I'll be honest with you guys, I love reviews. Like I used to with EGM. When I was younger, I'd go pick up the magazine. It was very easy to digest. It was like, they'd have the 3 or 4 scores right next to each other. It was a multiple person review. The names, you'd come back each month. You knew who was there. This is Shu. This is Mark. This is John. This is Crispin. They had their little profiles at the beginning.